Somebody once told me the world was gonna roll me. Hello there, Internet. What does LGBTQ stand for? Let's talk about it. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. Side note, when I sang in last week's video, people were like, oh, I love your voice. Girl, I be singing in every video. This just shows me you don't watch till the end. The L of LGBTQ stands for lesbian, or la dollar bean. Lesbian is generally defined as a woman who is attracted to women. Now, as we know, words are ours to define, and so that may not be the exact definition that fits you. For example, you can be non-binary, be attracted to women, and identify as a lesbian. This thought can be duplicated for every letter in this alphabet, so keep that in mind. Next letter, can I get a G? LG. And the G, which no one is surprised, stands for gay. Now, gay as an identity has almost become kind of an umbrella term for people who are in the LGBTQ plus community. However, here is how it is defined. Gay is generally defined as a man who is attracted to men. I often wonder how it feels to be a gay man and have other people use the term that's meant for you. Like, yes, we have homosexual if we're getting like real scientific with it or whatever, but gay is like the letter in the alphabet for men. But like lesbians are often just called gay. I call myself gay because it gets my point across. If I say I'm gay, people are like, oh, you are the LGBT and you must like people like you. And that is true, I do, but I also like other people too. Letter number 3, we have B, LGB. B stands for bacon. I'm just kidding, it stands for bisexual. But they're kind of the same thing. Do not ask me how. Bisexual is actually kind of interesting because people kind of like get all in a tizzy about what the actual definition of bisexual is. Through a good chunk of history, bisexual could be generally defined as somebody who is attracted to both men and women. However, that leaves out our non-binary, agender, etc. folk. I have personal experience with this because for a long time I identified as panromantic. I identified as panromantic because I was attracted to everybody, not just men and women, but everybody in between. But it never quite felt right to me, and then my world was changed. I think it was actually Elena Joy who offered up a new definition of bisexuality that I had never heard of, but suddenly it was right. So I define bi as being attracted to my gender and other genders. There's still a binary there, kind of, but it's more encompassing. And it just feels more me. Time for T! If you support the LGB, you must also support the T. And that is our community motto. T stands for transgender, which can generally be defined as somebody who does not identify with the gender that they were assigned at birth. Now, this includes trans men, trans women, non-binary folk, etc. Anybody who does not identify with the gender they were assigned at birth is trans. Now, they may not claim that term. It's not up to you to give them a term. It is up to them to say they claim the term. For example, me, as a non-binary folk, I do claim the term transgender. There's a lot of internalized stuff that makes it hard for me to claim that, but I do. But somebody else who is non-binary might not. Final one, the Q in LGBTQ. This one, people are like, do I put it on? Do I not put it on? Where'd it come from? I don't know. So the Q stands for queer or questioning. Why does it stand for two things, Abbie? Why is it there? What are we doing with it? So let's take a slight brief history of the word queer. So if you say that you identify as queer in front of somebody that's older, they might be like, huh, whoa, what are you saying? What's going on? Because queer originally meant something else. It meant like weird. Basically, I was queer before I knew I was queer. Then queer became a slang term. Hi, editing Abbie here. I said the word slang. The word I was looking for was slur. Queer was used as a slur against the community. You may continue. And now we have reclaimed that term and use it as an identity. That being said, you cannot call somebody queer if they do not identify as queer. Then it's still bad. Queer is a bit of all-encompassing kind of thing. Some people just identify as queer. They don't want to be labeled as lesbian, gay, bisexual. They don't want to be labeled as those things. Those labels don't fit them, but they like queer. So now queer is a label that we can give ourselves, and that's amazing. I also kind of think of it as, I have no idea if this is true, but I also kind of think of it as a little nod to the other identities that are not lettered in LGBTQ. There are longer strings of that phrase, which we'll talk about in other videos, but it kind of gives a little milady to those other identities. It also stands for questioning. And a lot of people are like, why would you include that in the LGBTQ? There are people that don't really identify as LGBTQ, but they're just kind of like, maybe? Well, if you were questioning who you are and whether you fit in a community or not, wouldn't you want to be loved, welcomed, accepted, hugged by that community? I would. So questioning is cool with me. So there you have it. LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and or questioning. I hope this video has helped you out. Maybe you learned something you didn't know before. Maybe it's something that you can share with your friends or family to help them learn something that they didn't know before. Either way, I'm here to help. Give a like, give a subscribe, give a comment, give a share, all those things, because I love you and you love me. We're best friends as friends could be with a great big, what is that? I am gonna go to Free Comic Book Day? What? And I will see you next time. Bye! And when you sing in the LGBT, you start with LGBTQ. This is how it goes. A kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? What is that? Is that Barney? Only time will tell.